Good morning everyone. Today I am going to discuss about the computer network subject unit 5, that is application layers. So, in these few topics we have discussed in the last video classes. So, those topics are client server programming, World Wide Web, HTTP and FTP and electronic mail, persistent and non-persistence. So, these are the different topics we have discussed in the previous video class. Now, I am going to continue the next topic, that is telnet. Okay. Coming to the topic telnet, we have some content again some contents in this telnet: secure shell, domain name system, that is DNS, and SNMP, that is simple network management protocol. So, these are the different contents which we have now which we have to discuss now. Okay. Coming to the first one, telnet. What is mean by telnet? A server program can provide a specific service to its corresponding client program. Okay. So, a server program can provide a specific service to its corresponding client program. It means the server, whatever the server we are having, that server program will be provide the specific service to the client program. Okay. So, for example, the FTP server is designed, the FTP server is designed to let the FTP client store or retrieve files on the server side. Okay. This is the example, and however, it is impossible to have a client server pair for each type of services we need. So, the number of servers soon becomes interactable, which is not scalable. So, another solution is to have a specific client and server program for a set of common scenarios, but have some generic client and server programs that allow a user on the client side to log into the computer at the server side and use the service available there. Okay. So, for example, if the student needs to use a Java compiler program at her university lab. Okay. So, if the student need to use the Java compiler program, so at the university lab there is no need for a Java compiler client and Java compiler server. So, for what is the example ma? So, if a student need to compile a program, needs to use a Java compiler program to her at her university lab, but there is no need for a Java compiler client and Java compiler server. The student can use a client login program to log into the university server and use the compiler program at the university. So, we refer this generic client server pairs as a remote login application. Okay. So, one of the original remote login protocol is telnet. Okay. One of the remote login protocol is telnet. So, now we are talking about this only. So, telnet, which is an abbreviation of terminal network. So, although the telnet requires a login name and password, it is vulnerable to hacking because it sends all the data including the password in plain text, not encrypted. Okay, not encrypted. A hacker can eavesdrop and obtain the login name and password. Because of the security issue, the use of telnet has diminished in favor of another protocol, that is secure shell, that is SSH. Okay. Secure shell. So, in this telnet is almost replaced by SSH, that is secure shell. We briefly discuss the telnet here in two reasons. Okay. So, first reason is that the simple plain text architecture of telnet allows us to explain the issues and challenges related to the concept of remote login, which is also used in secure shell when it serves as a remote login protocol. Okay, this is the first step, first reason of the telnet. So, why we are using this step ma? Telnet is almost replaced by secure shell. So, for that we are having two reasons in telnet. This is the first reason. Now, we have explained. Second reason is network administrators use telnet for diagnostic and debugging purpose. Okay. So, these are the two reasons to replace the telnet. Telnet is almost replaced by secure shell. Okay. So, next we are having the local versus remote login. When a user logs into the local system, it is called local login. Okay. When the user logs in local system, we can say it is a local login. User types at a terminal or at a workstation running a terminal driver. So the user type at a terminal or at the workstation running a terminal emulator, the key strokes are accepted by the terminal driver. The keystrokes are accepted by the terminal drivers. The terminal driver passes the characters to the operating system. The operating system in turn interprets the combination of characters and invokes the desired application, program or utility. Okay. In this having the diagram, this is the diagram of the local and remote login. So, in this diagram, when a user wants to access an application program, here I having the at the top of this diagram having the application program, and this is the local login A, and B is the remote login, and in this I having the telnet client and telnet server. Okay. So, what the use of this diagram? So, a user wants to access the application program or utility located on the remote machine. She performs remote login. Logging. Here the telnet client and the server program come into use. The user sends the keystrokes to the terminal driver where the local operating system accepts the characters, but does not interpret them. Okay. So, this is the local and remote login. Okay. See, this is the diagram. Here having the telnet client and telnet here the telnet client and the server program comes into use. The user sends what the user sends, this is the user sends the keystrokes to the terminal drive. Okay. Here terminal driver having where the local operating system accepts the characters, does not interrupt them. So, next is the network NVT. NVT means network virtual terminal. So, what is the use of network virtual terminal? Now, I am going to explain that. So virtual network virtual terminal NVT. So, the characters are sent to the telnet client. So, if you see this diagram, we can we can clearly understand about this. So, here I am having the client telnet client. The characters are sent to the telnet client. Okay. So, which transforms the characters into the universal character, which transforms the characters into universal character sets called NVT. NVT means network virtual terminal characters, and delivers them to the local TCP So, if you see this here, I am having the NVT character set here. So, what is the now we are going to discuss about this NVT. So, what we are saying, I having here terminal and a telnet client and telnet server. At the end of the telnet server, I having the pseudo terminal driver. So, what we are doing, whatever the characters having, that characters are sent to the terminal client. Okay, telnet client. So, what it performs, it will be transforms the characters into the universal characters set, universal character set called the network NVT network virtual terminal character set, and delivers them to the local TCP IP stack. The commands are text. in NVT form travel through the internet. So, whatever the commands or text we are taking in the NVT form, that will travel through the internet, okay, and arrive to the TCP IP, arrive at the TCP IP stack at the remote machine. The characters are delivered, to the operating system, and passed to the telnet, server. So, which changes the characters to the corresponding characters understandable by the remote computer, Okay. So, this is called the NVT. NVT means what ma? Network virtual terminal. However, the characters cannot be passed directly to the operating system. So, whatever the characters we are having, we doesn't send directly to the operating system. Okay. So, because the remote logging system is not designed to receive the characters from the telnet server. So, it is designed to receive the characters from the terminal driver. Okay. Why we are designed the telnet server ma? So, what remote operating system is not designed to receive the characters. Okay. Remote operating system is not designed to receive the characters from the telnet server. It is designed to receive the characters from the terminal driver. Okay. So, this is the main use of NVT, and this is the concept of NVT, and the solution is added to the piece of software. Called the pseudo terminal driver, which here at the end of the telnet server having the pseudo terminal driver. So, the solution is added to a piece of software called pseudo terminal driver, which pretends that the characters are coming from the terminal. The operating system then passes the characters to the appropriate application program. Okay. So, the NVT means network virtual terminal uses two sets of characters. NVT uses the two sets of characters, one for data and one for control. Okay. So, if you see this diagram, down of the diagram having the two sets of characters in NVT. So, that is data character and control character. Okay. And one of our control character. So, both are 8-bit bytes for data NVT. For data NVT normally uses what is called NVT ASCII. Okay. NVT network virtual terminal ASCII. This is an 8-bit. This data character is a 8-bit character set in which the 7 lowest order bits are the same as US ASCII, and the highest order bit is 0. Okay. So, to send control characters between computers from client to server or vice versa, NVT uses an 8-bit character set in which the highest order bit is set to 1. Okay. So, option is the telnet lets the client and server negotiate options before during the use of services. So, this is the option, and next coming to, we are having the user interface. So, what is mean by user interface? So, the operating system that is Unix, for example, it defines an interface with user friendly commands. And examples of such a set of commands can be found in this table here. So, that tables contains the commands like open, close, display, mode, quit, send. So, these are the different command names. So, we having every command meaning that is open means to connect a remote computer. So, if you want to communicate with the remote computer, we have to connect. Okay. We have to connect the connection. So, connect to a remote computer, that is called open. So, it is close. Why close means whenever the communication, whatever the connections are complete is there, if the connections between that two remote computers is completed, the connections will be closes. So, that is the close command name. So, display, it shows the operating parameters. Okay. Next, mode, what is the use of mode? So, it changes the line or character mode. Okay. It changes the line or character mode. Next, quit, if it is completed, we can exit the telnet, and send a special characters. So, these are the different commands which we are using in the user interface. Okay. So, up to here we have discussed about the telnet. Now, we are coming to secure shell. So, what is meant by secure shell? That is, in the shortcut we can say it is a SSH. So, all through secure shell is a secure application program that can be used today for several purposes such as remote login and file transfer. So, it was originally designed to replace the telnet. It was originally designed to replace the telnet, and the first there are two versions of SSH secure shell. One is a secure shell 1 and another is secure shell 2, which are totally incompatible. So, the first version SSH1, that is a secure shell 1, is now deprecated because of security faults in it. So, in this section we discuss only secure shell 2. So, secure shell 2 and next components. We are using some components. Secure shell components, we are using some components in secure shell, that is secure shell is an application layer protocol with 3 components. So, what are the 3 components? SSH transport layer protocol, SSH transfer, and SSH authentication protocol, SSH connection protocol. So, these are the 3 components we are having, and okay, 3 components we are having. So, coming to first component, that is SSH transport layer protocol. So, in this protocol, the TCP is not secured transport layer protocol. In this TCP is not a secured transport layer protocol. Secure shell first uses the protocol that creates a secured channel on the top of the TCP. This new layer is an independent protocol referred to as SSH transport layer protocol. Okay, SSH transport layer protocol. So, then when the procedure implementing this protocol is called the client and server, first uses the TCP protocol to establish an insecure connection. So, then they exchange several security parameters to establish a secure channel, on the top of the TCP. The services provided by this protocol are first one, privacy or confidentiality of the message exchanged, privacy and confidentiality of message exchanged. Next, data integrity, which means that it is guaranteed that the message exchanged between the client and the server are not changed by an intruder. So, server authentication, which means that the client is now sure that the server is one that it claims to be. So, this is the third service provided by the protocol. Fourth one is compression of the message, so which improves the efficiency of the system and makes attack more difficult. So, these are the 4 services provided by the protocol. Okay. Next, second one is secure shell authentication protocol. So, after a secure channel is established between the client and the server, and the server is authenticated for the client, secure shell can call another procedure that can authenticate the client for the server. The client authentication process is secure shell is very similar to what is done in secure socket layer. This layer defines this layer will defines the this layer defines a number of authentication tools tools similar to one used in secure socket layer. Authentication starts with the client. Authentication starts with the client, which sends a request message to the server. So, the request includes the username, server name, the method of authentication and the required data. The server responds with either a success message which confirms that the client is authenticated or a failed message, which means that the process needs to be repeated with a new request message. So, if the authenticated message is failed, we will again repeat it with the new request message. If the authentication client is authenticated, so we no need to repeat that the new request message. Okay. So, this is the secure shell authentication protocol. So, third one is a secure shell connection protocol. So, after the secured channel is established and both server and client are authenticated for each other. So, secure shell can call a piece of software software that implements the third protocol So, that is called secure shell connection. So, one of the services provided by the secure shell connection protocol is multiplexing. This secure shell connection takes the secure channel established by the two previous protocols and lets the client creates multiple logical channels over it. Each channel can be used for a different purposes such as remote login, file transfer and so on. Okay. So, we having some applications in the secure shell, secure shell. First applications. So, all through secure shell is often through as a replacement for telnet secure shell. In fact, a general purpose protocol that provides a secure connection between the client and server. Okay. So, in this application we having two types, that is secure shell for remote login, secure shell for file transfer. So, what is mean by secure shell for remote login? So, several free and commercial applications use secure shell for remote login. So, we can mention mention that Putty by Simon Tatham, which is a client secure shell program that can be used for remote login. Another application program is Tectia, which can be used on several platforms. Okay. So, these are the first application, and second application is secure shell for file transfer. So, one of the application program that is built on top of the secure shell for file transfer is the secure file transfer program. Secure file transfer program. The secure file transfer program application program uses one of the channels provided by the secure shell to transfer the files. Another common application is called secure copy. So, that is a secure shell secure copy. Okay, secure copy, and so this application uses the same format as the Unix copy command, that is cp2 copy files, cp2 copy files. So, this is the second application of the secure shell. Next, coming to next topic, that is domain name system, DNS, domain name system, DNS. So, in this we are having the internet is so huge today, internet is so huge today. So, a central directory system cannot hold all the mapping. If the central computer fails, the whole communication network will collapse. So, what is the use of domain name space? So, the internet has a huge today, the internet is utilizing very huge today. So, the central directory system cannot hold all the mapping. In addition, the central computer fails, whose communication network will be collapsed. A better solution is to distribute the information information among many computers in the world. So in this method, the host that needs to that needs mapping can contract the closest computer holding the needed information. This method is called domain name system DNS. So it shows how the TCP/IP uses a DNS client and a DNS server to map a name to an address. So a user wants to use a file transfer client and access the corresponding to the corresponding to the in the corresponding file transfer server running on the remote host. The user knows only the file transfer server name, such as a filesource.com. Okay, so what the diagram you are saying, so we shows the TCP/IP user. Okay, so corresponding, to get a better solution, what we are doing to we distribute the information among many computers in the world. In this method, the host needs to mapping all the contact the closest computer holding the needed information. This method is called the domain namespace. We told that. So I having the diagram. So this is the diagram of the, and this is the purpose of DNS. So I having the TCP/IP uses the DNS. So TCP/IP what using the DNS server. Okay, DNS server to map the name of the address. To map the name of the address. So a user wants to use the file transfer client to access the corresponding file transfer running on a remote host. So the user knows only the file transfer server name, such as a filesource.com. So having the purpose of namespace. So what is the namespace here? What is the use of namespace? A namespace that maps which address to be continue the name can be organized into two ways: flat or hierarchical. Okay, flat or hierarchical. In a flat namespace, a name is assigned to an address. So a name in space is a sequence of characters without a structure. So the names may or may not have a common section. If they do, it has no meaning. The main disadvantages of a flat namespace is that it cannot be used in a large system. It cannot be used in a large system such as internet because it must be centrally controlled to avoid ambiguity and duplication. So in a hierarchical namespace, each name is made of several parts. The first part can define the nature of the organization. The second part can define the name of an organization. The third part can define department of organization, and so on. And in this case, the authority to assign the control the namespace can be decentralized. A central authority can assign the party. A central authority can assign a part of the name that defines the nature of the organizations and the name of the organizations. The responsibility for the rest of the name can be given to the organization itself. The organization can add a suffix or prefix to the name to define its host or resource. The management of the organization needs won't worry that the prefix chosen for a host is taken by another organization, because if part of an address is the same, the whole address is different. Okay, so this is the first one called namespace. Next one is a domain namespace. To have a hierarchical namespace, a domain namespace was designed in this design. The names are defined in an invented tree structure. Inverted tree structure with the root at the top. The tree can have only 128 levels, that is level 0 root to level 127. So we are having the diagram here. So this is the domain namespace. This is the root we are having. For this root we are having the root at the top of the root at the top. The tree can have 128 levels. The tree can have 128 levels, top levels, level 0 root to 127. Okay. Next in this having the top level modes, and this is the root. Okay. This is the root, and next having the labels. So having the each node in the tree, so these are the nodes. So now we have seen the diagram. So what are the blue and gray shaded circles are there? Those are the nodes. Okay, what they are saying in this these are the labels. So each node in the tree has a label, so which is a string with a maximum of 63 characters. The root label is a null string, that is called empty string. So the DNS, domain namespace, requires the children to store DNS requires the children of the node, and nodes can branch. So label, which is a string maximum 63 characters we told. So the root label is a null string, that is called empty string. So DNS requires that children of the node, nodes that branch from the same node have different labels, which guarantees the uniqueness of the domain names. So next, domain name. So each domain name. So what is mean by domain name? Each node in the tree has a domain name. Each node in the tree. So this is the tree. Each node, every node, each and every node in the tree has the domain name. A full domain name is a sequence of labels separated by the dots. The domain names are always read from the node to the root. The last label is the label of the root null. This means that a full domain name always ends in a null label. So which means the last character is a dot, because the name string is a specific is name because name is I mean, so if this is mean null domain name always ends with the null label, and which means last character is a dot, because the null string is nothing. So we have shown the domain names here. Domain names, having the again diagram of the domain name. So this is the diagram. This is the labels. So every node we having the label. So domain, so this is the education domain label and domain name. We are providing domain name. This is the top university education, so domain name. This is the department top university education, domain name. A computer be department top university education dot education, domain. These are the different domain names we are having. So these are the labels of that domains. So domain is a subtree of the domain namespace. The name of the domains is the name of the nodes at the top of the subtree. So this diagram shows domains. Note that domain may itself be divided into domains. Okay, so this is the domain namespace and names and labels, and this is the domain. So this is the diagram of domain. Having these are the domains. So these are these labels. These lines are the domains. Okay, so and having the root here, and this is are the domains. Okay, and this is the education, and this is the .com. These are the domains here, and next. Distribution of namespace. So the information contained in the information contained the information contained in the domain namespace must be stored. It is very inefficient and also unreliable to have just one computer store such a huge amount of information. So it is not unreliable because any failure makes the data inaccessible. Next, a hierarchy of name servers. So what is meant by hierarchy of name servers? A solution to these problems is to distribute the information among many computers called DNS domain namespace servers. So this domain namespace domain namespace allows domain to be divided further into several domains, that is subdomains, and divided into smaller domains, that is subdomains. So each server responsible for either a large or a small domain. In other words, we have a hierarchy servers in the same way that we have a hierarchy of names. Okay, so this is the diagram of this hierarchy of the namespace, and here I having the root server, and these are the different servers, that is education server, find education, bk ed, mc mcgray.com. So these are the different hierarchy of the namespace. So having the root server. What is mean by root server here? So a root server is a server whose zone consists of a whole tree. So a root server usually does not store any information about the domain, but delegates its authority to the another servers. Another servers keep reference to those servers. There are several root servers, each covering the whole domain namespace. The servers are distributed all around the world. Okay, a primary server loads all information from the disk file. The secondary server loads all information from the primary server. When the secondary downloads the information from the primary, so it is called the zone transfer. So next we are having the that is DNS in the internet. So DNS in the protocol that can be used different platforms in the internet. So the domain namespace tree is divided into different sections, that is generic domain, country domain, and inverse domain. Okay, so what is the generic domain? So having the diagram of the DNS in the internet. So the first one is the generic domain. So what is the generic domain? Okay, so a generic domain, this is the inverse domain, middle is the generic domain, and this is the country domain. So this is the upper, I have the root. So generic domain defines the registered host according to their generic behavior. So each node in the tree defines a domain which is an index to the domain namespace database. Namespace database. So okay. Next I having the generic table domain labels, that is Aero, Biz, Com, Cooperation, Education, Gov, Information, Int, Mil, Name, Net, Organization, Pro. So these are the different labels we are going to use in the domain namespace, and these are the descriptions. AERO means airlines and aeroscope companies. Business or frames similar to Com. Com is a commercial communication organization, and cooperative business organization. EDU means educational institutions. Government institutions. Info means information service provides. International organizations. Military groups, and museums and other non-profit organizations. Name, personal name or individuals, and organization, non-profit organizations. professional, individual, organization. So these are the different descriptions of the label. I have the diagram here. So this is the diagram of the generic domains. Here I having the root level, and these are the different commands. Labels are there in every node. So every node, and this is called the generic domain. Next, having the country domain. A country domain section uses a 2-character country abbreviation. Examples: USA for United States, and second labels can be organizational, and they can be more specific national designations. Okay. So in the country domain, we having the root level, and the root with the root level. That root level is connected with the nodes. Every node having the label that AE, FR, US and ZW, and in this US we contains the cup, ANZA and CU. So these are the different domain names, country domain names. So and next having the inverse domain. So what is mean by inverse domain? So this inverse domain is used to map an address of the name. For example, a client and a request to the server to perform a task. Server finds a list of authorized client. The first list contains only IP address of the client. The server needs a query to the DNS server to map an address to a name to determine if the client is one of the authorized list. They require the query is called the query inverse. This query is handled by the first level node called ARPA. Okay. So this is the inverse domains. So this is the diagram of the inverse domains. So this is the inverse, this is the root level, and this is the ARPA, and these are the nodes which we are labeled with each other. Okay. And next, so up to here we have discussed about the domain name inverse domain. In the domain namespace we have discussed about up to inverse domain. In the next class we will continue the same domain namespace. In this we having the resolution and mapping names to address, mapping address to name, and recursive resolution and interactive resolution. Okay. And iterative resolution, and DNS messages, header, and types of records. Okay. Registers. Next, dynamic names, domain namespace, DDNS, and encapsulation, and SNMP, simple network management protocol. So these are the diagrams of the SNMP, explanations and diagrams of the SNMP. These are the management components and role of the SNMP, what will be happen in the SNMP. Everything will be discussed in the next video class. Thank you for listening.